Huge new report from The Intercept from Li Fong. Take a look at this. Last-minute Trump rule would let vaccine makers hike prices unchecked. The Biden administration could halt an attack on one of the government's few options to rein in drug prices. So we discussed this recently, that there's this, I think it's called the Buy-Dole Act, which gives the government the ability, anytime there's public funding of research that creates medicine, the government has the ability to step in if Big Pharma starts price gouging and selling it at an unreasonable price. The federal government can step in and say, no, you're not charging that, you're going to charge this. So it's sort of like a price control, but it's a price control of medicine that we created with our tax money. So we created it up front, and then they want to double charge us on the back end and price gouge us? That seems ridiculous. So the federal government has the ability to say, no, you can't do that, we're going to charge this lower rate. Or nothing at all. The federal government can say it's free because taxpayers funded it already. Get this. The federal government has literally never, not once, ever used that authority. You don't need any more evidence as to how Big Pharma bought our government and runs our government and owns our government. That's what happens when you have corruption and legal bribery. Big Pharma gives money to the politicians never exert that authority. Give money to the president. When the president's in power, he handcuffs the executive agencies who can regulate that. This is what happens. Military-industrial complex runs our government. Wall Street runs our government. Billionaires run our government. Big Pharma runs our government. And the deep state, the intelligence agencies, they run our government. This is what happens. So, Trump, at the last minute, there's a rule that he put into place that says, oh, by the way, the Buy-Dole Act doesn't apply to you even if we want it to. You could hike prices unchecked if you want. So, but it's okay, right? Because Biden came in and saved the day, right? He was supposed to revoke all the last-minute Trump rules. Turns out he didn't touch this one. Interesting. He didn't touch this one. That's weird. The other thing is, Biden is considering getting rid of the patent protections, the intellectual property rights for the vaccines, so that other countries can use the vaccine formula so that they can save their populations from COVID. And Big Pharma was like, they're acting like the mafia. They're like, it'd be a shame if you did that because we're supposed to work together as a partner. And if you take an action like that against us, there might be some other negative consequences that we won't tell you about right now. So in other words, they're making threats. Don't you dare consider saving the lives of people in developing countries by letting them use the formula, because we care about the money that we'll make from having the formula. They're also talking about hiking the prices soon for the vaccines, with the booster shots, for example. So, that's where we are right now. Biden could reverse this rule. He hasn't reversed this rule. Trump didn't have to put that rule in place, but he put that rule in place as he's pretending to be anti-Big Pharma, by the way. And this is who really runs the government. This is who really owns the government. And you get the raw deal. Medicare is not even allowed to negotiate with the pharmaceutical companies for fair drug prices. They just have to pay whatever pharma says to pay. And by the way, they're always unreasonable. So there was, Li Fong brings up a great example in this. There was, I forget what it was for. Oh, I think it was a prostate cancer drug. Was it a lung something drug? I think it was a prostate cancer drug. $129,000 a year is what it cost. $129,000 a year. And I believe there was some sort of lawsuit. The government stepped in. I think they wanted to invoke the Buy-Dole Act. And Big Pharma beat that back and was continually allowed to charge $129,000 a year for a necessary medicine. Just so you know how much money goes into research and development for new drugs? $41 billion. I think that's per year. $41 billion the NIH spends on research and development for new drugs. $41 billion. And then all of those medicines that we create, Big Pharma goes, we're going to buy up the rights to it and double charge you on the back end and price gouge you. Call me old-fashioned, man, but I think we should nationalize Big Pharma. I think we should nationalize everything involving healthcare, health insurance. Because if you pay $41 billion up front in tax money for research and development, when you get sick, you should just get that drug, and it should be for free. You got to either do it that way or do it the way they do it in like the UK, where it's like a $10 copay or something for any drug. That's how you got to do it. When you don't do it like that, you get this. You get Big Pharma running the government, because they bought the politicians, and the politicians are corrupt, and they let them get away with murder. They let them get away with murder. And you have the Republican, Trump, he allows them to price gouge now on vaccines, and Biden could reverse it, and he hasn't done it yet. And he hasn't even lifted the intellectual property rights yet. This story alone shows you how broken our government is.